Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Film for Fans podcast, the podcast from movie fans for movie fans. I am your host, Ryan Dunlevy. That is my co-host, Rob Dunham.
We are here. Let's go.
We're here and we're ready to go. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We are going to go over the box office numbers. We are going to talk a little bit of Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and we have some psychological games. Ooh, a little word.
Would you like to play a game, Ryan?
Perhaps.
I'd like to shout out my friend Angel and some of his patrons who may be listening to the podcast today, because my friend Angel has been recommending us to people who frequent his shop. So I wanted to give a shout out there.
Definitely. Good work, Angel. And now we will get right on with the agenda. And we're going to start out with the box office. We have not a new number one. We have the same top two as we had the previous week, but we did not do a podcast because we had the holiday weekend and we had the instant reaction podcast out there. But 2 weeks in a row, we have the same 1 and 2. And Lilo and Stitch did in week 1 did approximately $217 million on its opening weekend. Yeah.
It's a lot of money for a live action, whatever that thing is.
Yeah. Lilo and Stitch did $217 million in its opening weekend. It did $63 million in its second weekend. So it's a fall of 56.9%. So right on, like a normal ratio fall away. Now the numbers from the previous weekend are slightly skewed because it was Memorial Day weekend. So it's not like 3 days, it's actually 4 days that it took to make that money. But that's, you're compared apples to apples here with our number 2. So that's not a big deal there. And number 2 was Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning for the second week in a row. Last week, Mission Impossible did about $95 million, which was the highest opening for any Mission Impossible ever. So that's a very good news for the Mission Impossible franchise, especially going up against a pretty hardcore kids cartoon that did $217 million. So the fact that it still made $95 million was a pretty good number. In its second week, it did $27.3 million. So that's a 2-week total of $122 million for Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. So very solid numbers there. It was a 57.4% drop off for Mission Impossible. So again, right on about the normal mark you'd expect for a week 2 drop off, especially after a long holiday weekend. The first new entrant into the box office this week came in at number 3, and that's Karate Kid Legends. Karate Kid Legends did $21 million in the box office. Number 4 was Final Destination Bloodlines, which did $10.8 million in its third week of release. That film has made $111.7 million in its 3 weeks in the box office.
It's pretty good for a horror movie.
So very good for a horror movie. Number 5 comes out with our last one that we're going to talk about, was also a new movie, and it's Bring Her Back, the A24 release. And that did $7 million, which for an A24 film, $7 million is not bad. It's not a bad takeaway. Their films tend to have a narrower genre of people.
Yeah, this looks like, I'm interested in seeing this movie, and it looks it's a very intense horror movie. So definitely not for everyone.
Yeah. For sure. Any other thoughts on the top 5?
I'm just continually to be shocked that Lilo and Stitch is so dominant. Maybe I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But apparently the bumper sticker crowd is a real live, breathing, massive audience.
Yeah.
Apparently all the people with the Lilo and Stitch bumper stickers and car decals actually went and saw Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. And I think it was set up well for them because it was the only kids movie really in town over Memorial Day weekend. And so it would make sense that if you're going as a family to the movies, that's the one you go to, but still $212 million is a big number. That's a really big number.
We asked the question if people were afraid of Disney live action or if they were more interested in the story and the character. And obviously, the story of the character won out in that debate.
And I think I heard this a number of times. It's like, well, I guess we're gonna get a whole nother slew of Disney live action movies rather than new films. And there's truth to that. And as much as I want to criticize Disney for having no new good ideas and just continually releasing live action films of films they've already released, and there's, I mean, what if you're a company, you're like, here, you can do this and you can make $200 million. You're going to do it. Mm-hmm. You just are. You're going to do it. So until people stop going to the live action releases and keep giving them money for these things, yeah, you're going to keep getting live action releases from Disney. So it kind of is what it is.
I want a live action release of the movie Treasure Planet. That's like one of my favorite Disney movies that no one knows about. It would be amazing.
Interesting.
Basically Treasure Island, but in space.
Sweet.
It's a great movie. You should check it out.
No.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I'm pleased with the Mission Impossible results. What do you make of the Karate Kids Legends doing 21 million? I think that's a solid figure given what else was in there.
Yeah. Solid, but I wonder if they were hoping for a little more. Banking on the nostalgia and Jackie Chan, and there's a whole lot of nostalgia factors in that release.
There is Jackie Chan, the old Karate Kid. You had the successful Cobra Kai series on Netflix that kind of took you back into that world as well. I think it's probably right where I would have expected, especially given the amount of money at the box office over the weekend. I'm not surprised it did what it did. I think that's okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the budget was super crazy for that.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was.
So I think they're probably okay, and they're probably reasonably pleased with that.
Then again, sometimes you have a movie like Red One that has a budget of like $350 million, and you're like, I have no idea where that money went.
Yeah. What we did find out, like there was a while ago where we were running like, how are these crazy budgets? And what we did ultimately realize is like some of them who were shot during the pandemic had like significant pandemic related costs in terms of like all the stuff they had to do to just be able to shoot the film and all the extra added costs and all the extra safety measures they were being forced to go through just to film those things elevated the cost tremendously on some of those films that were shot over that period of time. Side note, I did see a story where Tom Cruise basically played tricks on movie studios to get them to film during the pandemic. He did the whole classic, like he called up another studio and during the pandemic, he's like, hey, are you guys shooting? He's like, no, we can't shoot anything. He's like, well, we're shooting over here. And so they went back to their executives like, well, Tom Cruise is shooting over here. Okay, we'll start shooting. And so then Tom Cruise sees them shooting, goes to his own studio, was like, they're shooting. Look at it. They're on that. And then his studio starts shooting. So Tom Cruise playing mind games to keep shooting over the pandemic.
Tom Cruise would do anything humanly possible to allow himself to be in a movie. That's just what we've learned.
While I'm on the subject, I also saw an interview with Pom Klementif from Mission Impossible, and they were asking her about Tom Cruise, and he's like, yeah, well, after like close to the end of filming, like I asked him for advice. I said, I was thinking about learning to do skydiving. Like, do you have any recommendations? Of course, Tom did like ridiculous amounts of skydiving for the Halo jump scene for Fallout. And he's like, let me get back to you. He comes back to her the next day and like gifts her like a 25 lesson pass so she can get certified as like a certified diving, like skydiving instructor and stuff like that. And she was telling him she's now done like 250 jumps.
It's amazing.
Like, that's awesome. All right. Well, that's the box office for you. And we've got a couple movies coming out this week. The two main ones that I want to talk about is we have Ballerina, the John Wick franchise Ballerina, and we have The Phoenician Scheme, the newest Wes Anderson movie coming out. Very different movies. For those of you who are referencing this, Ballerina supposedly takes place between the third and fourth John Wick movie. So if you're curious about that, and we know from the trailer that we do see John Wick in the trailer, so he will be in the movie. For how much time and how extensive his work will be in that film, I don't know. But Ana de Armas is the lead there, and looks like a good movie to me. What are your thoughts on the two upcoming releases?
I mean, I love both movies for different reasons.
Mhm.
One being, I love the. I mean, they're both, but they're kind of the same reason. Like, to be honest, I like the aesthetic of both the John Wick series and Wes Anderson's films.
They know their visual language very well and do it and use that visual language to its maximum.
Yeah,
for sure. It's very different visual language, but they both use it incredibly well.
This would be a very interesting double feature to attempt, I think.
It would be, wouldn't it?
I don't know what I would want to see first. I think I might want to see Wes Anderson first. So probably be thoughtful and deep and just out there and abstract, and then I can go watch people shoot at things.
Yeah.
Be a good way to end the day, I think.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how Ballerina does, because it might indicate how much life left there is in the John Wick franchise, versus, especially now that John they're not continuing the John Wick story.
Yeah,
they are. They're not. They are. I don't know. Who knows? But in theory, they're not. But they found a way to do it. So it will be interesting to see how much life there left in it. I'm also curious to see where the Phoenician Scheme will rank on my favorite Wes Anderson movies, because there are some that I'm just indifferent to, and there's a number of them that I really like. So I am curious to see. I'm hopeful for this one. I think it looks fun.
And I've yet to see one that I don't like. So sure, I'll like it. It's just a matter of where it will rank in the liking.
Indeed. Okay. Well, that is the box office for this week. And now let's do your thing first here. For our discussion, we are going to do a little bit of a mind game. So why don't you explain to the folks what our game is?
We didn't do any preparation for this, so it might go really well and it might go really terribly. Just to warn you.
This is a new one.
So the idea is just some free word association. So one of us will say something about the movies, whether it's an idea or a genre or a specific movie or an actor or a director. And then the other person needs to respond as quickly as they can with the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of the word or the name that's given to you. And so we can't give our own answer for ours because that would defeat the purpose of the game. So we'll just see how it goes. And I'm going to start with trilogy.
Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, Star Wars. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah,
it was the original trilogy I knew as a kid.
Yeah, and we can talk about these a little bit. I actually probably think I would have said the same thing. Because what's funny is that it's not just a trilogy anymore.
It's not. Yes. But that was the thing. It's like I got, as a kid, I got the 3-pack VHS that had all three of them. So it was always it's a trilogy. It's 3 movies. So it was so that's why it's rooted in me.
And there have been a lot of movies that have tried to copy that success since and have not really done it.
Yeah. Dystopian realities.
The Book of Eli.
Interesting. Why the Book of? Why was that the first one that came to you?
It's probably my favorite dystopian movie, and I think the reason is that it feels incredibly gritty and grounded as opposed to some other ones. Okay. And that it's really just a guy against the world. It's not. There's not a whole lot of technological components to things or some other weird stuff. It's just him walking through the desert. You don't necessarily even realize what's happening and where right away, which I like.
By the way, I worked at Sunglass Hut when that movie came out, and the sunglasses were Oakley's, and they were popular.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Indiana Jones, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I picture the hat, the whip, Indiana Jones for sure. Yeah,
it's hard for me to argue against that. Yeah, barring one movie.
Yeah, that's my initial reaction. I would say the second film I associate with him is The Fugitive, one of my all-time great films. Awesome film.
And that's the great thing about like an instant just reaction to a name is it's not necessarily going to be the best thing they were in. It's going to be something that resonates with you. And I think for people in our generation, Indiana Jones, like Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But he's also Han Solo. And he's also The Fugitive. And he's also Jack Ryan. And he's also all these things. Yeah. But definitely understand that one.
Ryan Gosling.
The Notebook.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because he has a pretty wide spectrum. So it's that's fascinating. Okay.
Which is fascinating because by no means is that my favorite Ryan Gosling.
It shouldn't be
at all.
It really shouldn't be.
Ryan Gosling might be really sad that the first thing I said when his name came up was The Notebook. Leonardo DiCaprio.
The Departed.
Okay.
Yeah, The Departed.
Yeah, because I think if you asked a lot of people Leonardo DiCaprio, they would say Titanic.
They would, yeah. But see, the reason why I say Departed is because, and I might have talked about this before, but like if you're my age, you grew up with all of the middle school and high school girls loving like teenage Leonardo DiCaprio in the early 20s. He was like the teen heartthrob, and so none of us could stand him.
Yeah.
And so I didn't respect him as an actor until like the back-to-back films of Blood Diamond and The Departed. And I'm like, okay, this guy's actually a really good actor. And from that point forward, I was on board with him. So it kind of like The Departed is kind of like my origin story with Leonardo DiCaprio. So it's the film I most associate with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you got?
Desert.
I'm not answering this quick enough. Dune.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Dune.
Okay.
I was trying to. Yeah. I don't know what else I would think about. Like, obviously, there are a ton of movies that have evoked or involved desert.
I'm guessing I would have said the first Star Wars movie, or maybe like Planet of the Apes or something, or Lawrence of Arabia. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Movie theater food.
Oh, popcorn.
Yeah.
Popcorn. Although I will say I've recently had a bigger run with pretzel bites. Yeah. I've had a good run with pretzel bites here lately, and I've enjoyed.
Ryan likes the popcorn without butter.
Yes, without butter.
Because butter is the diet killer.
It's
to steal a line from Dune and adapt it to our purposes.
Yeah, popcorn is already pretty unhealthy, but butter popcorn is like, I mean, just it's so bad for you.
And now they have like a lot of theaters have stations where you can like put as much butter as you want yourself on it, which is even worse.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, I worked in a movie theater for a while, and we would sometimes do like we'd do a double oil, double butter on the like thing. It would come out like nuclear yellow. Oh, that stuff's so bad for you. Oh my goodness.
But it tastes so good.
Oh, it did. There's no doubt about it. It tasted good.
All right, got something else?
Yeah, IMAX.
Big. If I had a longer answer, I'd probably say like, I don't know. Well,
what you're saying? IMAX movie. Pick like what's the first associated with a movie you saw on IMAX?
So, first association with a specific movie I saw on IMAX. I'm gonna say The Dark Knight because that was that. I think The Dark Knight is actually the first full-length feature film I saw in a real IMAX theater. Not there are a lot of theaters now that have slightly smaller than real IMAX. Yeah. We call that LIMAX. It's still really big and still really cool, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
I saw The Dark Knight at the Whitaker Center in Harrisburg.
And that's a big full IMAX.
Yeah, and some of the scenes are just like there's a scene in particular I remember, and there's a helicopter flying in over the city, and I think it's Hong Kong, and just seeing that, like, it felt like you were flying.
Yeah, like
it's just incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's a couple more. Go on in 60 seconds.
You can't see that if you're not watching.
For those of you who can't see, Ryan did the Nicolas Cage finger. Yeah.
Also, Lowrider.
Yeah.
Lowrider.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Low Rider Donnie.
Cars, obviously, is like the the whole point. But
good breaks.
yes, that's great.
It's such a bad movie, but it's such a good movie.
Yes.
Like it's so.
When I say it's a great movie, I don't mean that it's a well-made.
No, but it's so good. It's so actually enjoyable to watch.
And that's really the thing. Like we want to enjoy watching the movies.
Like it was back when Nicolas Cage made bad movies that were actually really entertaining and really good for you to watch. Yeah. All right. Let's go with Natalie Portman.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of other things that are way more accurate to what I appreciate her for, like V for Vendetta for one.
Yeah.
Black Swan. Like there's just so many movies.
Everyone was introduced to her.
Yeah.
In 1999 in the Star Wars film, and that was the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember in the Social Network where there's the courtroom scene in the back and forth. It's like, yeah, this class had like this many Nobel laureates, this many Supreme Court justices, and a movie star. And then the lawyer goes, who was the movie star? It was Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
She was at Harvard at the same time as Mark Zuckerberg, and like actually consulted with her on the film because she was there during that time.
So. Also, if you ever watch Saturday Night Live, another thing you might think of Natalie Portman is this gangster rapper. If you don't know what I mean, you should look it up. It's amazing. Okay, just a couple. Let's do a couple rapid fire genre ones.
Okay.
Animation.
The Incredibles.
Why The Incredibles?
It was probably the best done. My favorite animated film. The one that I was like, man, Pixar is really, really good. It was The Incredibles. Yeah.
Yeah. Brad Bird is phenomenal. Yeah. Director. And not only that, but he's directed live action movies too.
One of my favorite Mission Impossible films. Mission Impossible.
Which is crazy. I think the guy who directed The Incredibles, directed The Iron Giant, directed a Mission Impossible movie. Like he's probably got one of the coolest careers of any director. Like who else can say that they did that?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Horror.
Why am I blanking? I've seen too many horror movies lately. That's the problem. I'm gonna go with The Shining.
Okay.
The Shining, just because of how classic it is and what a touchstone it is, and one of Jack Nicholson's most well-known roles, and just throw in the fact that Stephen King wrote it. I mean,
it's probably like you were saying, like which movie is probably the most synonymous with the genre? It's probably The Shining.
Yeah, and I apologize to the podcast audience because I presented this as a rapid fire thing, and I'm just so overwhelmed by the sheer volume of movies that I've watched that I couldn't come up with something quickly. Let's see, sports movie.
Moneyball.
Yeah,
Moneyball.
I think we're dealing with the same scenario here. There's just so many.
It's like I'm trying to picture the first image, and then like three pop into my mind. Like, which one am I grabbing? Yeah.
Yeah, Moneyball is definitely a great answer.
Western.
3:10 to Yuma, which is by no means like the best Western.
Yeah.
It's also not a hotel. That's much. There. So we recently watched one of the Best Picture nominees that was a Western, and I wasn't super impressed.
No.
Like it was okay.
Yeah.
But I like 3:10 to Yuma, the new one, not a great movie, but I liked it a lot more than that. One of the difficulties is that we're a little bit past the age when Westerns were in their heyday.
Yeah.
So we haven't had an opportunity to really contextualize like what makes a good Western movie, I think.
Yeah.
I think we talked about a lot of the hallmarks of them, but it's not easy to necessarily pull that out. And I was going to say, for going back to sports movie, I think Hoop Dreams might be like something that comes to my mind. It's a documentary, but it is a movie.
The other one that it didn't pop in my mind right away, but that I would say would be Mighty Ducks, just because as a kid it was such a powerful influence as a kid.
All right, a couple more things. We're gonna ask some direct questions, and you have to answer. Who's the best actor of all time?
Who's the best actor of all time? Oh man, Daniel Day-Lewis,
Okay.
maybe.
I'll answer these
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
I would say Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
I'm very biased. In fact, Silence of the Lambs could have easily been an answer for the best horror movie, but
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs is really, and we've talked
I think
about
it's
this.
more of a
It's
thriller.
more than a horror movie.
Yeah, and
it's really a procedural crime thriller, but it's just the fact of what he does that turns it towards the horror
it
angle a
can
little
fit
bit.
in that column. I think it fits better in the column of thriller, but
Yeah.
it can fit in the horror because it does enough to cross the genres.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's the best movie of all time?
Gladiator. But I would say
zero time to answer in case you didn't hear that.
well, because people ask me all the time.
Yeah.
But I would say the two Christopher Nolan films, three Christopher Nolan is right up there.
Yeah.
So I would say I would put Inception up there too,
Mhm.
and more Interstellar has gained so much momentum for me over the last number of years that I would put one of those two Christopher Nolan films and Gladiator up there as
his Gladiator so firmly entrenched for you. Like, do you think you could ever see either of those Nolan movies or another movie passing it?
No, I could. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. And like the Nolan movies have gained so much steam with me. Before it was like Gladiator here, and like the next movie is way down here.
Mhm.
These ones are all right up there, are all up there.
If anyone has paid attention to listen to the podcast, they would have known that Ryan was going to say Gladiator. They would know that I'm going to say The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
it's because I think it is the perfect movie.
It's amazing. It's so good.
like
we're talking both. All these are like top 5.
Just the storytelling, the performances, the music, the setting. Again, the fact that it's based on a Stephen King short story. There's just so much.
And one of the film agencies or whatever has it as their number 1 all-time movie, and I can't fault them for that.
Yeah. What is one movie that you have never seen that you really want to see?
Ooh, a movie that I haven't seen that I really want to see. Lawrence of Arabia.
Huh.
Yeah, it's been on my list, and I've almost started like twice in the last month, and been like, oh, it's 3 hours long. It's like 11 o'clock. It's like, nah, I'll wait until I can spend some more time on it. So Lawrence of Arabia is probably the number 1 movie that I want.
Kind of funny because like before I even asked the question, before like we did this, I was formulating like some ideas in my mind, and Lawrence of Arabia was actually my answer too.
Interesting.
I've never seen it.
That's really funny.
So I think the gods have determined
that we need to watch it.
Well, I think that's good for now.
Yeah, that's good.
I should probably listen to this and transcribe it and write down the ones that we asked each other so we don't ask them again. But we could do it again in the future sometime.
Yeah.
And if anyone has any suggestions, feel free to make comments on our YouTube page.
Yeah.
I guess since we're encouraging people to do that, we should actually start reading them. I don't know if you do, but I'm a slacker. So
I see on when I go to upload the YouTube videos, I see if anyone's commented anything, and usually
so feel free to make a comment, and we'll I think we'll put some work in to see if we can get an email address set up here too, so that you guys can give some feedback.
Yeah. So
all right.
So that is that particular discussion. I thought we'd just spend a couple minutes talking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now that we did our instant reaction podcast. Now we've had some time to digest the film a little bit. And I'll start with you. Now that you've had a little bit of time to process Mission Impossible, what do you make of it? How has anything changed from your initial reaction, or what are your thoughts?
What I'll say, the overarching thought that I have, which I had when the movie ended, so it hasn't changed anything, but reading some more about certain things and hearing more about certain things, and I shared this article with you, that originally there was supposed to be a post-credit scene to this movie, and Tom Cruise actually told the director, we don't need that because the ending is good enough.
Yeah.
And just how the movie flowed, the way there were all these callbacks, some visually, some just with dialogue. If it's not Tom Cruise's last Mission Impossible movie, then they did a really good job of making it seem like it was.
Yeah.
To me, I went in very skeptical about this really being the last Mission Impossible movie. But knowing the trajectory of Tom Cruise's career and seeing the different things he's been in and the way he approaches them and the passion he puts into them, this really felt to me like a love letter to Mission Impossible from Tom Cruise and like a goodbye
Yeah.
from Tom Cruise. I would be incredibly surprised if he made another one.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be surprised if he showed up in a reboot of it, like if it was a different team.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of hinted at that at the end of the movie.
I think he's thought about that and approached it. I mean, there's rumors that Glenn Powell, that he approached Glenn Powell about trying to do that.
Yeah.
So I think he's very open to doing something else along the Mission Impossible lines, but not.
Yeah, we made a lot of jokes going into it, like, oh, there's no way this is the last one. But I think it's the last one. I'm at the point that I would be surprised if it was not the last one with this group of people.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Yeah.
A couple things stood out to me. One is, and I did mention this on the podcast, but I think they were very, very intentional about making this film more grounded. Whereas the AI in Dead Reckoning was so ever present and so much a character in the story. Whereas and I didn't love that. I thought it was harder to wrap your head around that, and it made it seem a little bit more out there. I think they really realized that and really put the AI into the back seat for Final Reckoning, where it kind of, the AI was the unspoken enemy running underneath it, and everything else was on top of it. They use it to set the stage, and then they let the characters and the human elements play out and battle back and forth there. So it came out as a much more grounded film and less computer tech craziness involved with that. So I think that was an intentional shift, and I think it was a shift for the positive direction. And I really do think that made a difference. Also, you can tell kind of the Chris McQuarrie, Tom Cruise style of making Mission Impossible, how it kind of evolves as it goes on. They really led you to believe that you were going to find more out about the incident from Tom Cruise's past that led to him being in Mission Impossible, including like they have like the name of the actress who plays that character who gets murdered by Issei Morales' character instead of Tom Cruise. And they just don't, you don't go there. Yeah. They didn't go there in Dead Reckoning. They didn't go there in the Final Reckoning. And they were kind of setting up like you might find out about this. And I think probably they originally intended to, and then the story went in a different direction and it no longer became a thing that was going to happen. So that was really interesting. The second time I watched the film, I noticed they were kind of doing the Rebecca Ferguson, like, I like you, but we're not going to talk about it thing with Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise and that. And I'm still not over the fact that Rebecca Ferguson is not in this film. So I love that. But they didn't go too far with it. But they were certainly leaning in that direction on those and kind of making you assume that there was more going on there. Yeah.
I really wish that Rebecca Ferguson would have showed up.
Yeah. Well, and that was noticeable to me because like they talked about deaths of previous colleagues, and like the only one he was like, the main one he was like romantically linked with was not in the montage there. But it was such, I think they did such an incredible job of making the nostalgia matter. And actually, like, they hit you with nostalgia really early on and really, really go that direction with it. But it all feels like an intricate part of the story, and it doesn't feel like they're scamming you with it, which is good.
This series, just as a thought, is in general, is really interesting to me because we talked about how it's really not like an insane blockbuster financially in the United States. It's made a decent amount of money. It's made a lot more
almost
overseas.
Starting, I think, with the third movie, all of them have made more money overseas than they have made in the US.
But they've all been good enough to make more.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something to continuing to produce something for an audience that cares about it. And I've said this before, and I really believe it. I'm not sure any other actor would really be able to play Ethan Hunt the way Tom Cruise has, especially considering how long he's been playing the character. Because that people sometimes, wonder, oh, how hard can acting be? But like, I think being that guy for this many movies over such a long period of time, I'm sure he spends a ton of time mentally preparing himself, getting in that character, because it's a lot different than most of the other things he's done.
Yeah. And I would say too, like if you look at Mission Impossible along with Top Gun Maverick, have really, really rehabbed Tom Cruise. Because you look at where Tom Cruise's reputation was at the point where he was like jumping up and down on couches and like recruiting women into Scientology. Like the thought of Tom Cruise was super low. Like what he has done to help save cinema, especially over the pandemic era, and just like the box office hits that he's been able to put out, and what he's been able to do from a stunt work, and just the dedication he has shown to making good films, I think has really helped his rehab his reputation, and really shown him for the value, and the cartoonish stuff has kind of been left in the past. So it's interesting how that works. Now, not for everybody. Some people still see him as the lunatic who's jumping on couches and the whole Scientology garbage. But I think the respect has come back a lot for Tom Cruise, and in no small part because of the Mission movies. All right, so let's wrap up today with any movies we've watched over the last week from our watch list. Rob.
So I watched Final Destination Bloodlines.
Okay.
And it was the best of the ones that I've seen. Granted, I've only seen 2 of them, and then read the synopsis for the rest, because I didn't. I watched the first one and the 5th one, and then just read the story of the 2nd through 4th one. Didn't really feel like I missed very much. It's a weird movie series, because you are simultaneously horrified and made to laugh like a maniac at the ways they come up to kill people, because they're just so outlandish, and the setups are so long, and you're just kind of like, well, is that gonna do it? Is that gonna do it? Is that gonna do it? And the whole first scene is basically a Space Needle like type building collapsing, and so you're seeing all these little things that maybe that will be the problem, maybe this will be the problem, and then everybody dies, and then the main character wakes up, and you're like, that's not even the main character from the scene we just watched, because it turns out it's her grandmother. And she's like having like a shared connection with her over that. So I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't great, but I am not upset that I saw it. And then I saw something else too. Oh, last night I watched 28 Days Later, which I've seen before, and like Cillian Murphy, it's the main character in that. Danny Boyle directs the movies in the 28 Day series. He's directing the new one that's coming out. I did not know that the new one that's coming out is part 1 of 3. So it's going to be 28 Years Later, 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay. I did not realize that either.
So the reason why I watched it was because I wanted to rewatch it before I see 28 Years Later, which is coming out at the end of June. So I watched 28 Days Later. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll be watching 28 Weeks Later, and then I'll be prepared to watch 28 Years Later. And 28 Days Later it's a pretty cool movie, because it's very much not a high budget movie. You can tell it's not a high budget movie. So it really relies on the acting performances, and I really like Murphy's performance in the movie. And then a whole bunch of other people that like Brendan Gleeson is in the movie. Naomi Harris is in the movie. She was the like Wicked Sea Witch person in Pirates of the Caribbean movies. She was Moneypenny in James Bond movies. So very good horror movie, and disturbing in some scenes, but I've always liked the series, so I just wanted to make sure I watched them again before I saw the new one.
Yeah. The trailer for the new one was
Yeah.
And that first trailer was epic.
Yeah.
That was quite the trailer. Um, for me, I watched a couple of I just sometimes I get in the mood to watch genres and I'll start watching. So I was like, all right, I was in the mood to see these, and like this is a genre that kind of doesn't exist anymore, and it's the like the romantic comedy or those kind of like friend romantic comedy movies or something. So I watched two of those. I watched from 2000 Keeping the Faith with Edward Norton and Ben Stiller. I had forgotten that Ed Norton directed that movie, and it has always been a favorite of mine. It's not really that well known. It's not usually most people's favorites, but I think it's fun, and it provides an interesting twist on the thing. In that they both fall for the same girl, and one's a Catholic priest, and so and one's Jewish, and the girl's not Jewish. So there's also there's like the weird religious things wrapped up in the whole romance and friendship thing. So it's kind of fun. Also watched Crazy Stupid Love, which is a really fun movie. Like if you haven't seen it, it has one of the best multiple storylines converge scenes in a film. It's so good. Like all the storylines you're watching the whole film converge, and it's utter chaos and it's hilarity. It is great. Have you seen this one?
Yes.
It's like that the scene where all the characters show up and they meet each other and they realize what's going on. It's so funny. It is really good. Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell and Emma Stone.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the right one. I was like, that doesn't sound like the right name. Wait, no, it is. Okay. Yeah. So fun movie. But they just don't make movies like that.
Yeah.
Like they just don't exist right now. And they're fun movies, and I wish they made more of them. So yeah. All right. That is the show. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Film for Fans. Make sure you visit filmforfans.com, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and until next time, enjoy the movies.